Hello.
Hello.
Sorry about that. I don't know
That's
what
all
happened.
right.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank
You look
you.
a
Oh,
very fresh face.
thanks. It's all in the lighting, apparently.
Oh, I forgot to
Apparently.
turn on my lighting, I've got it.
Let's go
Got
there.
my, there we go.
Like,
A
let's get
little
it
bit.
a bit moody, not too bright.
Yeah, not too much, not too much. I'm going to dim mine down just a tad. How are you doing after last night and attending the Black Maternal Health Awards? When I saw your post, I was like, oh, that
Uh,
space just, it looks,
yeah, it was amazing. It was so nice. Good. Yeah, I'm a little bit tired because
yeah.
my daughter still had me up
Of
at,
course,
you know, the crack of dawn.
life goes on, innit? Even when you
Exactly.
get a
Yes.
mummy's night out, yeah.
Yeah, you can get the night out, but you can't get the lie in. That's like, don't push your luck in it.
Exactly,
Don't push your
exactly.
luck.
That's amazing. Was that your first time attending, or have you been previously?
No, I think that was
Was
the
that the first
first
one?
awards. So they have a
Oh, okay.
conference,
Yeah.
which unfortunately I wasn't able to go to, which was the day before.
Hmm.
And then they had, the first awards, which was honestly, it was so beautiful. The energy in the room was lovely. It was beautifully
Yeah,
organized and just like timely. And it was just so beautiful. It was, and obviously
yeah,
it was just like a room full of inspiration.
yeah.
So it
I've
was
seen so
so
many
nice to
other
be there.
women. Sorry, I didn't cut you
No,
off.
no,
I've
it's all
seen
right.
I've seen so many other like black birth workers posting about it, and it's
Yeah,
just the type of people that I follow, and I just thought, what an enriching space, and
yeah,
we don't have many of them, so yeah,
yeah.
it's beautiful.
Amazing to be, a part of it. And my
Yeah,
best friend she's singing there, so
yeah,
it was like double joy,
exactly.
you know.
You get to catch up as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. I have been following your journey for a really long time, and I've always wanted to connect with you because I've just always wanted to find out more about what you do, because you do so much. And I've been following you since I first read about like the cacao ceremonies you do, and I was
Wow.
like,
Okay, so
oh,
a few
yeah. So
years.
a few years,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and you do so much. So obviously, I've had a look at the website, and you define yourself as This is a mouthful. A sexological body worker,
yeah,
a birth keeper,
yeah.
and I have to think about, you see, a birth
That's
worker
what it is.
mentor,
Yeah, yeah,
which is incredible. And it also states that your journey into birthwork started when you were just 17.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
My
really,
interest, was
yeah,
I basically was recovering from a minor surgery at home, and I
yes,
don't know if you remember, like the Discovery Channel,
yeah,
and I basically was watching back to back like home birth
hmm,
stories, and I was just fascinated, and it was the first time I saw, then it was what a doula was.
yeah,
And then I looked it up and kind of just went down a rabbit hole, but equally talked myself out of it because I was like, who's going to want a 17-year-old doula? Couldn't afford £2,500 for the
mm,
training that I'd found. So, it was like I ended up cycling back to that work a decade later. So,
yeah. It's incredible though, because it obviously really instilled something in you for you to even to try and come back to it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, a
yeah,
seed was planted
yeah,
really firmly. Um,
absolutely.
I'd really like to hear about just what your work entails. If you could just tell us a little bit more and how you arrived at your practice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, firstly. It's so
Yeah,
nice.
of
Obviously, we
course.
have over time exchanged, little
Yeah.
messages here and there, and equally love what you do. And
Oh, thank
it's
you.
just really nice to, just be in connection and have conversations like this,
Yeah.
openly, and kind of explore what everyone's doing. So yeah, my work is birth keeping, or for some people that recognize more the term doula.
Mhm.
So that's like my heart. It's all my heart's work. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful to be able to say that everything that I do really feels like a work of my heart and of my soul. And I don't. Take that for granted.
Mm.
I've also done, 9 to 5s and more,
Yeah.
done a bit of retail, all of these different things. But to having been sort of doing what I
Yeah.
really love for not next year will be 10 years, which is like
Wow.
what. um yeah, it just
Incredible.
feels really amazing. So yeah, birth keeping aspect. So essentially I support people through pregnancy, birth, and
Mm-hmm.
postpartum, and also actually fertility. So there are
Okay.
also clients that I've supported actually from, supporting them through their fertility journey,
Mm-hmm.
through pregnancy and to birth and postpartum as well. And to me, I think as well why maybe I resonate with the term birth keeper more is I really feel like the whole journey is very sacred, as it kind of says on the home of my business, the most sacred
Mm-hmm.
journey. But it's also like so many journeys within the
Yeah.
journey. um and yeah, I love the way that I personally hold space and work is, I feel like is in a very intuitive way, in a way
Mm-hmm.
that I really try to honor, obviously someone's pathway and experience and
Mm-hmm.
where they're at, but also, yeah, just more of a traditional kind of setup, traditional
Yeah.
kind of support. So, looking at and feeling into like ancestral wisdom and
Mm-hmm.
pathology and what else can be used in support of, someone navigating, that journey in terms of herbs and
Yeah.
nourishment and, all different things. Looking at fears and things surrounding the pregnancy, the birth, and the postpartum journey.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so birth work, and I hold space sort of in person. So I've attended probably, I think, over 50 births now. And I've also done a lot of like virtual birth preparation. I've
Mm-hmm.
supported people birthing overseas. I've done like FaceTime births
Yeah.
and all sorts. So yeah, and that really is beautiful. And I came into that work from sort of 2016.
Okay.
um and my entry point was through Dr. Gauri Mota. She
Mm-hmm.
is a founder and creator. She's a childbirth pioneer. She created the gentle birth method,
Mm-hmm.
and I went and had the privilege of just being able to learn from her and work with her. She taught me creative healing body work. So my entry into birth work was actually through body work,
Okay.
and essentially it's a holistic modality of,
Okay.
of of massage treatment that supports women through fertility,
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy, birth, postpartum. So I got to really work with her and learn from her and be in connection with women as they were on this journey,
Mm-hmm.
and then it evolved to assisting her with birth. And then I
Oh
went on and
wow.
did additional doula training. um and yeah, it's I haven't looked back in in all honesty. And then I've just, I'm someone that sometimes I have to talk myself out of another course because
I
I
was
just
just
love
about to
learning.
say that though, because hearing you talk, you've clearly done a lot of work. And I was going to say that for you to kind of deepen your knowledge, is it that sense of always having to continue doing the work in some capacity, whether that's
Mm,
reading, whether that's conducting research, whether that's doing a course? Are you always looking to kind of nurture that wisdom and that knowledge that you have
100%.
to serve women more?
Yeah.
And also, is that just for yourself as
Yeah,
well?
it's
Yeah.
both. It's definitely both. I
Mm.
think, again, the beauty of, I think, why this work feels the way it does for me, because it is in alignment in a lot of ways
Yeah.
with the way that I live my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in all honesty, everything that I'm doing and have done in my
Mm-hmm.
work has generally come from my own like personal desire or seeking after something, whether that was to learn or to heal within
Mm-hmm.
myself. So for example, actually, when I went to the way that I met Dr. Gowry, was actually because my cycle was a bit all over the place, and a
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine who had been seeing her referred me to her. And then we just connected, and
Yeah.
she was like, I think you should come and work with me. And at that point I was literally like at a pivotal point of like, I need to
Mm-hmm.
shift what I'm doing,
Yeah.
um because I wanted to start honoring my soul's work, as it were, my
Yes.
something that felt more purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, it's everything has come from a place of like my own curiosity. So the additional learning doesn't really, doesn't feel like a chore. It just feels like
Yeah.
natural evolution, because it's always for myself first. And I think
Mm. It has to
as
be, right? It has to
yeah,
be for the
definitely.
work to be organic and I just feel like the origins of it always have to be deeply rooted within ourselves, and that will always show.
Mm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
if you're just doing a pay course to provide a service just because you want to make
Yeah.
money within an industry, it will always come to the forefront, because this type of work, you have to be able to connect on that level with people, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've just followed my own curiosity, and there are things that I've
Mm-hmm.
done, there's courses and trainings that I've done that I don't, well, I say I don't use them. Let's just take one random one for an example. I trained in doing semi-permanent eyelashes years ago. Doesn't really come into my birth work. So but hey, at certain points when maybe I used to wear some
You never
lashes,
know.
it was handy. I used to do makeup artistry, so that was
Okay.
sort of linked to that. But anyway, there's various different things. There's curiosities that I
Mm-hmm.
followed just because I wanted to at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously I think now that I'm on a clearer path,
Yeah.
yeah, the things that I come across, or that I find that what happens is, like, I will just open myself to whatever I'm curious about. And sometimes I do. I go and I look for training, or
Mm-hmm.
I hear about something and I'm like, that just feels like that is speaking to my heart, or speaking to
Yeah.
something that I want to do, or I want to learn more about. And I do my best to follow and honor that, the best that I can. And I think, yeah, it does. It always adds to my own personal life and practices and
Mm-hmm.
rituals or way of being. And then, I try and bring that into my work. I'm not a different person,
Yeah.
in each of the different spaces. It's
Mm-hmm.
always me, and just bringing the essence of what I have, and whatever
Mm-hmm.
wisdom um can come through me, then,
Yeah.
like, let it be.
That's wonderful. I love when you said soul's work. I closed my eyes for like 2 seconds. I was like, yes, like
Yeah.
soul's work, because I feel like the older we get, when we're not aligned with our true purpose, it just kind of takes over all areas of your life.
Mm.
Like, I do Mother Nature's recipes part time, and I work because I'm not able to do it full time.
Mm.
And I just feel such a strong
Mm.
pull, but obviously needs must. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt that. Like, when
Mm.
you got family, you got to provide and everything else.
Of course, of
And
course.
but I felt that when you said soul's work, because
Yeah.
it's everything. Like,
Yeah.
it's so intrinsically tied up with your happiness
Yeah.
and your personal growth, and just building something that's
Yeah.
sustainable as well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I think, to speak to just what you were saying about, working, for some of us, there is that differentiation. And I've also done additional, like, administrative work alongside in
yeah.
parts of my journeys to fill the gaps. Because
Mm-hmm.
let's be honest, self-employment, it's not
Yeah.
always like the most consistent, etc. And, sometimes we need that bit more stability. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
so valid. And I also think, like, give thanks that there's so many people that are doing, works in, the 9 to 5, and that is their soul work. That
Yeah.
is that's a part of our path. I just think what's meant for us doesn't pass us. So
Yeah.
sometimes we think we're doing something mundane, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've had so many experiences of maybe working in different jobs that I wouldn't have necessarily deemed my soul's work or
Yeah.
whatever. But everything is not necessarily supposed to be that, but it all plays a
Yes.
part in, who we are and how we're
Mm.
developing. It might be a person we come into connection, someone's life that we're able to touch, or someone who's able
Mm-hmm.
to touch or speak into us
Yeah.
in a certain way, or, so I trust all of the path and
Yeah.
all of the things that are in it, and try to, alchemize it
Yeah.
all.
I hear you. I hear you. I try to look at it as it's just things are just happening, and they are just rerouting you,
Hmm.
but not necessarily in a direction that you would like to go in, or you feel is for you, but it's all still for you,
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, so you state that the work you do is centered around holding safe, heart-centered space, supporting women to come home to their own bodily wisdom,
Hmm.
cyclical nature, and intuition.
Hmm.
Do you feel in alignment with the women you serve through an exploration of your own bodily wisdom? I feel like you've answered this already, to be fair.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what has taken place in your life, both personally and professionally to deepen that level of connection and enable it to come to fruition. So maybe just the second half of
Of
that
the, yeah,
question.
yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely. So as we kind of touched on before, definitely I think personally and professionally it's interlinked. It's very interlinked for me. And I would say some big things sort of a part of my journey. So as I mentioned initially, being 17, that was my sort of first
Yeah.
interest in doulaing and birth work, etc. But then also I think there were some common themes, like from prior to me finding out about what a doula was, I was in I was in church for some years, and
Okay.
I loved even just working with young people, particularly young women. And I was like doing some mentoring work from really young, and I think to myself now, like, what on earth was I teaching them at 17 or whatever age? But there's
Yeah.
always someone to give us a bit of a guiding light, and we're all working it out as we go. But yeah, so I think there's always been something in me that loved working with women, and then also I think part of my own sort of looking at my own family history and pathology. So there has been a lot of history of issues around the womb. So a lot of my work as well is within the realm of womb wellness, of womb healing. So when I've talked about like working with people from fertility, it's been in that aspect. And that again, it was that whole personal thing of like, okay, what's going on? There's patterns here that I'm starting to understand.
Yeah.
And how do I look at that, and how can I shift for myself,
Yeah.
to I think it was just about prevention, like prevention is better than cure. But with that curiosity kind of just led me down so many different paths. And it was like, how can I, look about my own well-being, but also in a way that I can extend that to others, to my own family, etc. And yeah, just really also wanting to, be a cycle breaker and feel like some things are stopping here with me,
Right.
and just wanting to do that work. So I think when you talk about, do I feel in alignment with the people sort of that I work with, it's like, well, yes, because I trust that whatever is drawing them to me
Yes.
is, there's a resonance there in some way. And so I might not know exactly what that is, but generally it reveals itself. I just
Yeah.
trust, that the right people, I just believe that we find our people, or the people that are meant to find us. If it's like a service based thing, they will, they feel into and or buy into an energy that comes from a person, a way that a person makes you feel,
Yeah.
as well as knowing that they have the right skills, the appropriate
Yes.
knowledge, etc. So yeah, there's definitely an alignment, and I think I just trust and focus on doing me, being me, and of course practicing in the best and the safest ways that I can, and just trying to allow that to come from me, essentially. And then yeah, just trust that the right people will find their way to me.
I feel like I know I don't know you, like I've never met you in person. I don't know you on a personal level, but you definitely have that aura that makes people. I just felt instantly just from watching your videos and following your posts. I just gravitated towards you because it wasn't even just a sense of me feeling as though you're dedicated to your craft. It was more than that. You can have all the
Mm.
knowledge, but it's something else, and it's not even necessarily something that you can always articulate. Like you
Yeah,
said, it's just an energy,
yeah,
and the fact that I could feel that through like
yeah.
Instagram on your post says a lot.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and that you know, I feel the same in when I may be looking or just curious or just doom scrolling.
Mm.
There's people that you come across, and actually even yesterday there was one particular woman that I encountered in in the bathroom, and I was just like, oh, she was just getting
Yeah.
changed, and I just was like, this woman's energy, she didn't even say anything. Oh, she just
Mm.
had the most beautiful spirit. um and I would also like to think that, you know, a lot of the work, so more of the sexological bodywork stuff, which I'm sure we'll talk a bit
Yeah.
more about, you know, essentially that work is about embodiment. And you
Mm-hmm.
know, I have also, you know, been doing like, quite recently, like additional business, having business mentoring and coaching and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And one of the really key things that I have taken away is about embodying your values and
Mm.
embodying, you know, what it is that you do and you offer. And that is what makes your people be able to like connect with you in an
Mm-hmm.
authentic way, like embody what you are and what you do. And it's not, you know, I'm not the type of person that you're going to see doing sales pitch, as it were,
Yeah.
on, you know, for offerings or whatever, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if it's for you, you'll be there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I
Oh.
know even when I feel like I might not have had the money to do something, like if I feel like it's meant for me, I'll find a way. You get what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
I hear
So
you.
yeah, I definitely think it's you know, integrity and connection plays such a big part.
It does. It does. And sorry, just a couple of people in the chat in response to what I said yes, she does, and the safest loving hands to be in. So I'm
Ah,
assuming there are people that have
yes.
that have worked with you previously
Yes,
or know you, which
lovely
is
Lois. Thank you,
lovely.
my love.
Thank
So
you
nice
for
to speak
being here.
to you.
Thank you. So yes, please let's talk more about your sexological bodywork. When I heard when I read that on your website, I was just like, oh, I want to know what that means. And like I read the little blurb, but I still really want to know more. And I would like you to try and share with us why you think so many women, I can't speak, are having this shared experience of somatic disconnection from their
Mm,
own bodies.
yeah, I love that. I love that. Just that as an exploration, I think is so beautiful and very poignant. And I think it's very layered. So,
Mm,
firstly, to speak to the sexological bodywork. So, sexological body work is in some ways it's like it's a very vast work. So for example, what you can see people about, like the type of things they might be experiencing, can be very broad,
okay.
in one sense. But to try and sort of like pin it down and um explain what it is in a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, in just an understandable way,
Mm-hmm.
is it's a it's an informative space of exploration.
Mm-hmm.
It is, for me and from my interpretation, about a sense of embodiment. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the felt sense in your body. We're looking at body, nervous system, you know, and a lot of it as well is very much connected to pleasure. And obviously, if we're not, you know, obviously we all live in our bodies, but if we are not in connection,
Mm,
you know, with our bodies, then our experiences of wellness, of aliveness, of connection, of pleasure,
mm,
of even, you know, our erotic
yeah,
self,
yes.
it is like a mess. You
Mm,
know, it can be really uncomfortable. It can cause
yeah.
a lot of disconnection. And that, you know, when we are not essentially living in our bodies and connected to our bodies, and we're not able to track our sensations,
Mm-hmm.
we're not able to locate information that our body's
Mm,
giving us, that might be pain, discomfort, it might be pleasure,
yeah.
so when we're not able to locate that, it I think for me it kind of puts us out of our seat of sovereignty to some degree, because we can't touch a place. There's
Mm,
a break in the chain. I think
yeah.
that's the way that that's how it feels for me. And so the the mouthful of sort of sexological body work, so it is somatics. And the spaces are, or the sessions that I hold, they are um consensual, they're informative. So it is not, obviously, because the word sex is, people are like, what's that aspect
Mm-hmm.
about? And essentially what differentiates sexological bodywork is that actually in the UK it's considered sex work
Okay.
legally in the legal way,
Mm-hmm.
but it's because I can work with genitals and I can do hands in as well as hands on work. So,
Okay.
for example, if I'm supporting someone who might be exploring, like who's had an episiotomy after
Mm-hmm.
birth, then I could support them with internal work and even scar tissue remediation, which essentially is touching, connecting,
Yeah.
massaging scar tissue,
Okay.
um, to come back to connection, to come back to sensation,
Mm-hmm.
because often with scars we have adhesions sometimes that we can see, sometimes they're under the skin,
Mm-hmm.
but essentially scars hold memories. So
Mm-hmm.
again, kind of looking at, if we're looking at birth, because a lot of the sessions that I hold are generally around sort of birth injury, sometimes birth trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes not trauma, but just somebody who may have had, for example, a cesarean
Yeah.
birth, you know traumatic or not.
Mm-hmm.
um there's just that's about connection and what happens. So sort of coming back to that part of the question that you asked about, um what's happening in society where there is this sort of somatic disconnection. I mean, loads of things, but
Mm.
essentially we're very much in the doing. We're going about our lives, which of course we have to. We're human. That's our experience. But we are often so outward.
Yeah.
There isn't always that time
Yes.
of,
That
looking.
introspection.
Yeah,
Mm.
introspection, exactly the word. And yeah, and it's not even, to me, it's not even about like being still. We can
Yeah.
be active and
Yeah.
in connection, it's being able to locate, understand our nervous system, what our body is
Mm-hmm.
communicating to us, you know, as women, understanding your cyclical nature, your
Mm.
cycle. What does that look like? But for example, with someone who has had a cesarean birth, there can often be a disconnection, because you've got to
Mm-hmm.
think, we're cutting through layers and
Yeah.
layers of skin for the baby to be born, for the baby to come earthside.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something in that,
Yeah.
going through layers. Just the way, if you have vaginal
Mm-hmm.
birth, you are going through layers and portals, as it were, to
Mm-hmm.
retrieve your baby,
Yeah.
to birth your baby. So I think it's what can happen in a sort of, in a cesarean birth experience, is there can sometimes be a disconnection because there has been
Mm-hmm.
a cut essentially into the womb space.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and especially if that has been traumatic and or unexpected, most of the time, obviously not all, some people
Mm-hmm.
do have elective surgeries, and even then, but a lot of the time it's emergent, etc. And so there can be this, yeah, just this disconnection from the womb space, from the belly,
Mm-hmm.
from the abdominal area, from the vulva, pelvic floor, all of that, because
Yeah.
it's like, what happened to me there. And a lot of that comes from, unfortunately, sometimes coercion in a birth space, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in a medical environment, and sometimes people not understanding what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's not that they've actually had a cesarean, it's that they feel like it happened to them,
Yes.
like
Mm-hmm.
they weren't in control,
Mm.
essentially. And that is what I find, sort of birth trauma, or upset, tends to
To
come from.
be
It's
around.
not
Yeah.
it's not the
Mm.
outcome necessarily, or
Yeah.
just that. It's like, I didn't know what was happening. There was, all of a sudden, there were so many
Yeah.
people in the room. Yeah, they explained it to me, but also you're very vulnerable when you're you're laboring,
Mm.
you're giving birth. So there can be a lot of, especially within the spaces that I hold for looking at sort of birth recovery, there can be so much in, yeah, just feeling quite disconnected to different aspects of your body, whether you've had a surgery and a cesarean birth, or
Mhm.
because that's what it is as well. People forget, like, it's a major
Yes,
surgery
it
to have.
is. Yeah.
But it's also major to go through a vaginal birth. So
Yeah.
they're just different. And so there can be trauma, upset, things that show up in different ways according to, you know, how you have birth. And yeah, that can really cause a disassociation to the womb space. And obviously, you know, if you you probably would have heard me talk about this before, but you know, our womb space, it's our portal of creativity, it's our sensuality, it's that sacral, you know, energy, which is like key for us and our, you know, connecting with ourselves and our cyclical nature. And it's not just about, when I'm saying it's our sort of space of creativity, it's not just about creating babies,
Yes.
but you know,
Yeah.
our visions, our ideas, the things that we want to do, all of that is conjured up. And we talk about creation, part of that, so even tying back into sexological bodywork, is about our erotic self, our sensual self. It
Yeah.
is about sex, enjoyment, pleasure, because that's a part of creativity, you know. So essentially, yeah, there can be so much disconnection and disembodiment for those reasons. And then yeah, when we don't feel in connection, when we're then feeling shame, or you know, there's upset with how our body is looking and feeling, that spills out into everything in our lives, you know, or a lot of things, because essentially it's how we feel about ourselves,
Yeah.
and we're wearing that and walking around and operating in that energy. So for me, it's, yeah, it is helping. My work feels like and is a space where a space that I'm holding for you to remember, for you to reconnect. I'm just holding the space, right? And yes, of course, there is wisdom and skills that with that, not to discount or discredit that, but it is about you coming into that connection with yourself. And it's so profound, and it doesn't have to be the biggest and deepest of things,
Yeah.
you know. It can be small shifts, small understanding of being able to locate a sensation in your body, or just to even make sense, just to even go, I've been feeling this thing around my pelvic floor or around my vulva, and I don't quite understand. And having some knowledge about what has actually happened, like, what, you know, oh, okay, this is what it might be connected to. Actually, I was carrying fear about a previous loss that I had, you know. So it can be very layered, but it is honestly profound, the openings and the breakthroughs that I have seen people experience
It's
in
fascinating.
these
I could
sessions. Is
literally
really
sit here all day and he no, seriously, like when as you had me at when you said nervous system, because I was like all of these different aspects that go into all of these different aspects that sorry, what am I trying to say? Basically, when you were talking, I was thinking about when you're talking about the physiological side of things and exploring that and creating that connection. What I was thinking about was how that when you're focusing on the physiological, how does the mental come into that? Because a lot of time we put blocks in our own minds based on our own experiences, and these might be experiences from childhood in relation to feeling shame, into relation to how we're taught to understand our bodies, and how we've been limited in talking about our bodies. Like there was a lot of conversations I never had as a young girl growing up
Yeah.
that I'm now having with my 6-year-old. So I just thought that was really interesting, because when you were talking about the nervous system and the physiological side of it, especially as a somatic practice, when you nurture that physiological side, does that naturally in turn remove some of the boundaries that might be put in place mentally in terms of clearing those? I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think that the way I would put it is that it's all interconnected,
Yeah,
right? The
of course
body
it is. Yeah.
remembers, the things that happen to us. As you know, you probably heard that book, The Body Keeps the Score, and it does. It, the things that we might, you know, actually remember, but the things that we might cognitively, like, we might have forgotten in our mind,
Yeah.
but actually our body is remembered. So it is interlinked. So yes, we might be, for example, laboring and we're not thinking about, a previous loss or a breakdown in a relationship in that moment,
Yeah.
but there is a thread of that that is not fully, for example, allowing you and your body to open, because there is a
Mm.
sense of fear. And this is why it is helpful and useful to be able to, yeah, be in connection with
Mm-hmm.
yourself and sort of be able to sometimes create space to explore certain things that are showing up, so that
Mm.
you're able to move through it and have a sense of freedom, a deeper sense of connectedness, of embodiment.
Yeah.
Because so many of us are walking around, just, yeah, disembodied,
Yeah.
living and maybe having fun in life and doing well and successful in many ways, but then,
Yeah.
yeah, what's going on an internal level?
Mm.
Yeah, how are we, what is the state of our sort of space of creativity? I often
Mm-hmm.
refer to the womb as, a garden, and what's the state of the soil?
Mm-hmm.
How fertile is the soil? And also, what is, yeah, what's the environment like? And that looks like,
Yeah.
who are your friends? Who are the people that are around you? Is there toxic family? Is
Mm.
there toxic relationships? Are you working a job that you hate when really you want to be honoring your soul's
Yeah.
work? And or there's a confidence issue and you're not able to sort of step into that
Mm.
creativity, whatever it may be. So I just, I can summarize it to say, and again, coming back to my sort of own personal experience, these are things that I have, worked through myself, and I don't say that in equally in a way that I'm like I've done and I've arrived, because I certainly haven't.
Do you
But
think you ever arrive?
no, I don't think,
I
not
don't.
at all. Arrive
Yeah.
where? It's not a destination, is it? It's not. There's no.
Exactly.
It's the journey, and I think.
Mm.
But yeah, my own personal explorations down these pathways, and what I loved especially about sexological bodywork is that the training, every session, everything that you learn within it, you have to do the work, a lot of the
Mm.
work on yourself. First, there's a lot of like personal introspection, self-inquiry that's happening first within the training
Mm-hmm.
before you're holding space for someone else.
Mm.
So yeah, it's and that again, that spoke to the way that I live my life. Many of the things, the spaces, like I used to hold a circle called Soul Share, which was a sister circle, and I've held various different types of circles, cacao ceremonies,
Mm.
all of that. And I love how women can, or people can just come together and you know connect and
Yeah.
be, hold space for each other,
Mm.
so yeah, I feel like that was, the sister circles were, it was an extension of something that I was seeking when I
Mm.
started that. I wanted more sisterhood, and I was like, obviously I had friends, but there was also a part of me that I started to notice when I was holding these circles, that people were talking about things that they hadn't told their best friend, but there was a safety within this space,
Mm-hmm.
and again, then over the years in developing in body work, looking at how those things have affected, people's pathways, people's journeys, the things they want to
Mm-hmm.
birth and create, be it a baby, a vision, a dream, a business, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So yeah, there's it's so layered, but yes, essentially it's all
Yeah.
interconnected. Um and it's also not our life's work to just be picking ourselves apart, just to say that as well, because I think
Yeah.
that's, with social media you do get to see,
Mm-hmm.
so there's so much wisdom and so much beauty out there, but there's also a lot of fraudulence and
Yeah.
um a lot of stuff that's like inauthentic or not well researched,
Yeah.
and or this, also this whole thing of like, you got to heal yourself, you got to heal yourself, and then you actually crash and burn
Mm-hmm.
because there's no time for integration.
Yeah.
There's no time to actually feel what I just went through, or a
Yeah.
healing session that I might have just had. So yeah, space for integration is key, and just knowing that you living your life, like what you're supposed to know and do, to certain things will
Mm-hmm.
show up for you, and you'll feel the
Mm-hmm.
call, you know.
No, I agree. Like what you just said, the space for implementation is that's so powerful, because I feel like that's like it's fundamental, but it's the understanding of that, because I think that we then get trapped in these cycles of guilt
Mm,
and blaming ourselves when we're not necessarily able to have the capacity, or we're starting to feel like we're doing certain things, and why isn't it working?
mm,
But there's a whole understanding around the processes and stuff, and we're fed so much information
mm,
that it is often hard to know what we should be accessing and
mm,
what isn't for
mm,
us, you know.
mm.
I just feel like capacity is such a major thing
Yeah,
amongst our generation.
yeah,
Like, and
absolutely.
this, and yeah, and the sorry, I'm just thinking like the space to truly explore healing in a
Mm,
safe way
mm,
with the
mm,
resources that truly serve us.
mm.
It just doesn't always feel, it doesn't always feel available to us, you know.
Available, accessible, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's also a myth that you have to spend hundreds and thousands of pounds
yeah.
to do healing work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you absolutely don't. But you know, there are things, of course, that you can, services that you might use that you will have to pay for. But there are
Mm-hmm.
also yeah, there's ways to sit with things yourself, and like
Yeah,
what's going on for you? How does it feel for you? What do you feel like
yeah.
you need? It doesn't always have to
Mm-hmm.
be, you know, because so and so did it this way, that might not work
Yeah,
for you, or
yeah.
so and so had this kind of therapy or this kind of body work. You know, it's
Mm,
again, it's like just remembering that we're individual, we have individual experiences,
that's
individual
right.
needs,
And
and so
it's also just
on.
having the time to let it land,
Mm,
because I feel like there's so much noise in day-to-day
mm,
life, you know. So
yeah.
to actually have an understanding of where you are, like you said, within your own body, we're not often afforded those opportunities to see how it's landing, how it's working. And then there's this thing of like instant gratification,
Mm.
like we've tried something, where are the results, we want
Yeah,
it now,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
with technology and everything else. And it's like, no, you need to sit with it, you need
It
to do,
takes work. Yeah.
it takes
And I think
work.
that comes back, ties back into what we touched on earlier about, you know, how we want these fast results, but it's a journey, it's not a
Yeah.
destination. And you know, also it's to remember that we can feel like we've maybe gone through an experience and we've sort of transmuted, transformed, healed through something, but even that term
Yeah.
healed is like very,
Yeah.
very final and very complete.
Mm.
And sometimes you think you've moved through something and something happens
Yeah,
and just lashes you and takes you right back to,
that's
not,
right.
it might not be square one, but that thing comes up again for
Mm-hmm.
you. There's still some remnants of it in your body, in your nervous
Yeah.
system, or you know, whatever um it may be. And so actually there's like another level of healing that we need to
Mm-hmm.
do, but we had to go through that first part to be able to access this part, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree that it's not about, oh, we've got to get to this healed space, because it's
Mm.
essentially then we're chasing perfection, and that's an illusion.
Yes.
But what we
Yeah.
can seek is to honor our own path in the time, through the people or with the people, the resources that resonate, that are appropriate for us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, at any given time.
Mm. No, I agree. I agree. I'm just gonna ask you one more question, because we've been here on here for a lot longer, and I appreciate you giving me your time.
That's all
But
right. Oh, that's fine. I've had an hour carved out, so
oh, fantastic! Because
no
I'm just
problem.
I'm loving this conversation and loving listening to you, and
Loving it.
it's been so many moments where I'm just like, yes, like everything she's saying is just yeah, it's just wonderful. Um, so we are so quick to arrive at the notion that baby being earthside and safe overrides the journey experience to get them here when trauma is involved. And so many women I conversate with don't even know services such as your birth injury recovery work is available to them. So I'd just love to hear a little bit more about what this entails.
Yeah, sure. So, um, yeah, I love just again the framing of that question, and what you're speaking to about, obviously I see, yes, women that are pregnant
Mm-hmm.
and, and postpartum, etc. But actually touching on that journey to get there, we don't know what somebody has gone through
Mm.
always through a fertility journey, like to actually becoming pregnant, or just even what they've experienced throughout their pregnancy,
Yes.
and what they're dealing with. And sometimes, for some people, they don't necessarily know, or it's not in their conscious mind until they're in labor or
Mm.
they're postpartum, when we understand, and in the many people and women that I've spoken to, I hear so much as well about how, all of like things that you're from your childhood, and especially things in
Mm-hmm.
relationship to your own experience of being mothered,
Mm-hmm.
coming up when you have a baby. Everything feels like it's up for review, and on top of that, we know we're
Yes.
raging with hormones, and we've got milk flowing through our
Yeah.
bodies, and there's so much happening. It's a big time. So
I love the way you said that. Everything is up. I never thought of it like that, but you're right. Everything is up for review. You are combing over every detail,
yeah.
looking at the way. Yep, that
And
is so
do you know
brilliant.
what, that actually, again, that comes from what I felt like I experienced. That's where
Mm,
that the wording came from. Like, I just had this notion one day. I was like, shortly after I'd had my daughter, I was like, yeah, everything is up for review right
mm,
now. Like every friendship,
yes.
relationship, like family
Mm-hmm.
stuff, personal patterns and
Yeah.
behaviors, stuff around sex,
Mm,
and like
yeah.
so much. Everything really is um up for review. But yeah, we don't know what people have gone through, and
Mm,
that, yeah, that definitely affects how the environment of the birth space
mm,
plays a huge impact on the outcomes. And when I say the
mm-hmm.
environment, I don't just mean the physical environment of like the room you are in, whether that's
Mm,
home or
mm,
hospital or field, um it's more than that. It's also, I mean, like the environment, your mental space,
mm-hmm.
like the environment in which you are growing a new life as
Yeah.
well. Like what's happening, what has happened up until this point. As we said
Mm,
earlier, I was like, the body keeps the score. So there are things that are unconscious that, yes, that maybe lives in ourselves, and can come up throughout pregnancy and through our birth
mm-hmm.
journeys, and certainly postpartum. And so I guess, I think I mentioned it briefly earlier, but what I see a lot of in terms of birth injury and birth trauma
Mm-hmm.
is that sense of things happening to them,
Mm,
and I am not by any means anti-medicine. I do. People always ask me, oh, like, do you support hospital births? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And everyone's different. Also, birth
mm-hmm.
workers all work differently and have different boundaries, and I think that's great. That's why there's someone for everyone, right?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
tend to get called by, or I attract, let's say, a lot of people that tend to want to home birth and
Mm,
free birth. But my work and the way that I sort of frame it is that I support you to give birth in the way that feels safe to you, for you,
mm-hmm.
in your body. And we can also explore what safety means if you're not even unsure of, if
Yeah.
you're unsure of that, right? So yeah, what I see a lot of is just this sense of, and yeah, not being anti-medicine by any means,
Yeah.
because Western medicine, it absolutely has its place and it saves
Mm-hmm.
lives. um but there also, within that, there can be, as I mentioned, a lot of coercion, a lot of a lack of information, lack of getting consent. um
Yeah.
and so when you remove that from someone that is at such a vulnerable
Mm,
space, like from a laboring woman who has got so many layers of things happening,
Yeah.
and can be so vulnerable, and it should be that vulnerable in the most beautiful sense, you know,
Mhm.
like not the like, oh, like she's you know, like it, not in a disempowered way, but
Yes.
you are vulnerable and you need to be,
Mhm.
you know, but you should also be held and protected
That's right.
by your environment. So yeah, it tends to be what has happened in the environment, what has happened in the lead up,
Mhm.
what have the care providers been like, what's the support been like, is there any support?
Mhm.
But yeah, essentially with birth injury and birth trauma, most of the time it is due to being in some medical
Yeah.
environment, or with sometimes medical professionals that, you know, maybe have followed protocol but haven't honored that this is a human,
Mhm.
this is someone that is very vulnerable, and actually talking to them about the fact that they're going to go into a major surgery while they are mid contraction is not going to be the most useful thing. But equally, it's an emergency. It's like, you know, it's very
Mhm.
layered. But yeah, to sort of kind of round it up, it often is connected to feeling like they didn't have a choice, that
Yes.
things have happened to them,
Yeah.
and then and then also within that there is no space to debrief.
Mhm.
So for example, in the birth support services that I offer, or you know, like my packages or whatever, I will I won't I wouldn't support someone and not see them after their birth. That just
Yeah.
doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense to me. It's a journey, um, and even if it, for example, because some people choose to have a different doula or birth worker for
Mhm.
their birth, then and they might have somebody else for
Yeah.
postnatal, that would
Postpartum.
be absolutely fine. But if I'm going to be at your birth experience, I want to sit
Yeah.
with you so that you have the space to just talk through with someone who was there, you
Yeah.
know, and whoever was there, to really just give yourself the space to talk about that, you know. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's soon after birth, sometimes it's months down the line,
Mhm.
because again there's so much
Yeah.
going on once you've given birth. But
Yeah.
you know, so a lot of the sort of sometimes, you know, I've held spaces that have been via Zoom and just walking through people through steps,
Mhm.
and the most powerful parts often come from them retelling their story,
Mhm.
um and often just, yeah, getting to voice, and when they're speaking it out, you know, they didn't even realize that how they, or they remember a part that, you
Yeah.
know, had been
Mhm.
repressed or purposely suppressed, you know. um and so there's a lot of power in them being able to speak their story out and just being
Yeah.
witnessed. It's not about me. I can't fix it,
Yeah.
right? It's happened. But I can hold space to witness, for you to speak, to share, to
Mm.
express your anger,
Mhm.
to cry, to
Yeah.
whatever you need to do. And then also sometimes it's about getting them to, you know, maybe go into a sense of a visualization of, if they were rewriting it, what would that look like?
Mhm.
um and sometimes it's about, maybe if they felt like, for example, they didn't get to use their voice to a particular doctor or a midwife
Yeah.
or a family member, you know, maybe they want to do that, maybe they want to write a
Yeah.
letter.
Yeah. That's what I was. That was the next question I was going to ask you. Like, what are the processes involved? Because it's that outlet, isn't it? Not to keep drawing onto myself, but I experienced trauma in my first and second birth, and my kids are 6 and 10, and I still, when I talk about it, I get really frustrated, and it's like,
Yeah,
because I've never been able to voice. I've well, I guess I could have, but I've never expressed that to the people that were involved
yeah.
within that situation,
And
and
sometimes that's not possible, right? That's
yeah,
some of it, like, or it doesn't feel possible, or it's not
yeah,
possible. You know, you could have a doctor that has left the hospital, or a midwife or whatever,
hmm,
and you can't even access them
yeah.
anymore.
Even sometimes beyond that, sometimes it's just like, oh, okay, the baby's here now.
Yeah,
Baby's
yeah,
happy, baby's healthy. It's like, oh, okay, but
yeah,
like,
100%. Yeah, and it's that part, isn't it? It's dismissive. It's
mm,
like, okay, the
yeah,
baby's here now, and it kind of ties into this phrase that you hear often within um the birth world, and just if you're in a birth experience is well, as long as the baby's okay, you know, as long as the baby's
Mm.
okay, whatever's the safest for the baby. And actually no, the mother is
Mm-hmm.
carrying the baby. The mother has to birth the baby and also
Mm-hmm.
do postpartum, which is forever. And if we
Exactly.
don't look at the imprints that happen
Mm-hmm.
at birth, especially if there's been upset and trauma, that can linger and it can cause issues in other ways. And yeah, maybe it is just like that, as you were saying, like that frustration that's held, but that's held in your body, which is
Yes.
why you have a visceral reaction. Like your passion, your energy might change when you
Yes.
start talking about it, because
Mm-hmm.
your body remembers, you
Mm.
know. So sometimes in those sessions I might be encouraging you know, hands on work if it's virtual, for
Mm-hmm.
example. And again, it's like you put your hands on yourself. What can you feel if you listen, if you direct your energy, your breath down to your womb space, and you're there in your birth experience? You know, what is there, what are the, and it's amazing what comes up. You know, someone might find it themselves pushing or doing something that is almost like bringing the picture back together, you know,
Mm.
or like soldering the link that was broken in the birth experience. Or yeah, just visceral, embodied, felt experiences or sensations that they can associate meaning to and go from
Mm-hmm.
there. Because yeah, often it's also the other thing that happens is the things that they think it was in their mind, their body tells them it's something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very layered, and there's loads of different tools within the somatics, the sexological bodywork. I
Mm-hmm.
think I just work intuitively based on what's presented. There's different
Mm-hmm.
tools, different exercises that we can do. I might guide someone through, as I said, virtually, but also in hands-on sessions. You know,
Mm.
we might go through stories. We might just do a scan of the body and name different
Mm-hmm.
sensations. We might be doing actual anatomy. Again, another thing that is really powerful is just like so many people don't know what parts of their body are called,
Yeah.
and especially even, for example, women, very simple as vulva and vagina,
I know. Yeah.
we refer to it as the same thing,
Mm.
and it's not, you know. And actually, again, that can speak to us knowing the names for our bodies helps us to really be in connection. And obviously we
Yeah.
can make our own names as
Yeah.
well. And I think that when they're empowering and they mean something to you,
Mm-hmm.
then it's, again, it's that what you associate, what meanings you associate to things gives
Mm.
them power. So yeah, there's many different tools. I've done rage practices with people
Okay.
where I have literally set up like in a space like on the sofa and gotten loads of cushions and given them another cushion, and they're like whacking the life out
Yeah.
of the cushions because no one gave them a chance to express that
Yeah.
rage. Like, and there is often the sense with women, like, oh, you know, like you're not supposed to, you might be able to be angry but you're not supposed to show it, like you're not, but
Mm.
actually then where is it? It's held in your body.
That's right.
So yeah, there's different ways of sort of, you know, being able to work through that. But yeah, a big part of it, sometimes without all the exercise, and that is even just being witnessed and getting to share and speak, has really, really powerful
Yeah.
results.
Amazing. Thank you. So
You're so welcome.
like
we
there's
could we could
so
do this for
much
another
we didn't
hour.
cover. Yeah, there's yeah, there's so much. I might have to get you to ask you to follow up with a blog or something on the
Yes,
stuff that we
sure,
didn't
no
cover,
problem.
because it's
Or we
just
can just chat
we
again.
can just
Why
chat
not?
again. Yeah, I'd love that.
Part two.
I love that.
Part two.
But
But yeah, thank you so
no,
much
thank
for having me. It's been
you.
lovely to talk about what I love doing with someone
Yeah.
who resonates and appreciate, and someone whose work I value too. So
Thank you.
thank
I just feel
you.
like I've learned so much in the past hour, and just I could sit and listen to you all day.
Oh,
Honestly, like
God bless
you
you.
have such a presence. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank
So
you
much
so
wisdom.
much.
Thank you for being here.
You're so
Um, I look forward to connecting you in the future. I'm going to hold you to that part too.
Yeah, no problem. Name the place and time, and we'll make it happen.
We'll talk. We'll
But yeah,
talk. Thank
have a
you for
lovely
everybody
rest of
for
the
joining
day.
us for today. And yes, you have a lovely rest of your day as well. I hope you're having a chilled Sunday afternoon.
I
Maybe
am.
a little.
I definitely am. All right, my love. You take care.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.